On September 13th, 1952, George and Edith Satosky were driving down the road one evening, returning home from a trip to Ohio, traveling in the area of Flatwoods, West Virginia. It was a calm and peaceful setting as they drove through the winding roads through the hills, the fireflies beginning to assemble on the roadside as nightfall was setting in. As they rounded one particularly sharp corner, their car mysteriously shut off, slowly rolling to a stop. As George pulled him over to the side of the road, puzzled at the situation, he got out and popped the hood to inspect what was wrong with the car, a decision he would immediately regret. All of a sudden, there was a bright flash nearby in the trees, startling George and causing him to stumble back. A foul, sulfurous odor began to seep into his nostrils. Complete terror washed over him as he looked up to see a giant humanoid creature towering over the car, 9 feet or more. George scrambled back into his vehicle to protect his wife, looking up again to see clearly a giant, reptile-like figure gliding in some bizarre suit. They both stared, transfixed in abject horror, as the creature slowly glided toward them. A thick blanket of smoke washed over the pavement. 2 long fingers lay down on the hood of the car, burning through to the metal, and then suddenly disappeared back into the trees. Join us on Into the Portal as we join forces with the Zeng This Podcast for an investigation into one of the most bizarre cases of UFO and cryptid activity in history, the Flatwoods Monster. Hey everybody, welcome back into the portal. My name's Andrew McKay.
I'm Amber Ray.
And we have something very special and very interesting going on tonight. We have a guest on tonight's show. Mm-hmm. So just want to introduce Justin Zenger from the Zeng This Podcast. What's up, buddy?
Not much. Thank you guys so much for having me on. It is an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be on Into the Portal.
Well, thank you, sir. No, we're stoked to have you on. We've been looking forward to this all week.
Totally.
So, yeah, before we get started, let's, we just wanted to get some information about Zeng This. So, can you just tell the listeners, like, where we can find the show and what Zeng This is all about?
Well, Zeng This is something that me and my better half, Ellie, do every week, and we kind of tackle nerdy topics every week, from video games to comic books to movies, and we also do a movie special every month where we select a series of movies and kind of go over them with special guests. And right now, if you're a Harry Potter fan, that is the one we're currently in the middle of. We got done with Star Wars last year, and we also did the Spider-Man trilogy by Sam Raimi, so that's something we work on as well in addition to our Monday episodes. But we cover everything in the realm of pop culture, and you know it's something that oddly comes up a lot in pop culture? The paranormal. So we kind of touch on that too every now and then.
Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, no, we really dig the show, and it's cool that you kind of cross over through some of those genres. Like, there's not a lot of shows that kind of go that broad and do such a good job of it with comic books and paranormal and movies and all that kind of stuff. So it's awesome. We really dig it. What's your social media info? I mean, we'll get it at the end too, but like just.
Well, you can find Zeng This on basically Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere you can find it. Except for on Instagram, it is Zeng This Podcast, but that is spelled Z-E-N-G, this. And, of course, we're on most all podcatchers at this point. So if you're listening to this show, you should be able to find our show. Awesome. And we're also part of, the Dark Myths Podcast Collective. So you can also find us on there at darkmyths.org.
That's awesome. Hey, how long have you guys actually been a part of the Dark Myths?
Putting
you on the spot
September awesome. Or August. I know it was around the time of the actual Mothman Festival.
Okay.
When I went there, so yeah.
That's
around that time.
That's a good way to mark the event, mark the occasion,
Yes.
I guess, eh?
And
That's
also
awesome.
that's around the same time I went to Flatwoods, too, because we went to Flatwoods on our way back from Mothman, but I'm sure we will discuss that.
Indeed we will. Yes, we will.
Indeed.
So, I mean, I guess that's a perfect segue into, into the
Tonight's
topic. So, yes, tonight we are discussing probably one of the most I don't even know if you can call it a UFO incident outright or a creature incident outright. It's just something
It's a
very
crossover,
bizarre.
hey?
It's kind of a
It's
crossover.
a UFO cryptid creature crossover.
Indeed. So we're dealing with the Flatwoods Monster. So
Yes.
in Flatwoods, West Virginia, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. Sometimes goes by Braxton County Monster as well.
Right. All right.
Both those.
And basically, the story begins in the 1950s, but after that, there were obviously numerous other accounts and instances where a very ominous and frightening creature was basically, terrorizing people in and around the Flatwoods, West Virginia area. But I guess I should probably start with the original story, or did you want to do that? I think you should, Amber, maybe.
Me?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
You did it so well
I get the
earlier when we were
privileges
going
and
through
the
the
honors?
notes. Yeah. I love putting you on the spot, so it's all good.
Yeah, you really do. And now that you have, I realize I don't have an exact date in front of me. But
September 12th, 1952.
beautiful.
There we go.
There it is. Okay. So we're starting off, in the 50s. And this was, again, like we've already said, in West Virginia. And it started off with a group of youths, a boy named Freddie May and his friends first sighted an unidentified flying object over the hills of a grassy knoll near where they were playing. And so they went to investigate, and they actually ended up grabbing Miss May, who was I've heard conflicting descriptions of her, either as being Freddie's mom or as a local beautician that was nearby. I don't know. I don't know what to believe.
Most of the stuff I read, she is the mother of both Edward and Fred.
Fred,
Right.
okay.
May.
Right.
Yes.
That makes
Okay.
the most sense, because I did see some later on, was it the Skeptical Inquirer, when they went to investigate, and they actually asked both Miss May and Fred for their accounts, and they actually denied, or they didn't deny it, but they didn't want to talk to the
Oh,
Skeptical
okay.
Inquirer.
Gotcha.
For whatever reason, I don't know.
Right.
But, so, getting back to the original account.
Yeah. So the boys are playing in the backyard, and they see basically like an object fall from the sky, a flaming object. Correct?
They do,
Okay.
yes. And that have supposedly crashed in the hills above their home. And so, boys being boys, they went out to investigate, along grabbing Freddie's mom.
Yeah. For protection.
I love that.
And the dog.
Yeah, and the dog, right. Can't forget the dog, and a flashlight. And they ended up being greeted by a thick blanket of smoke that had a strange sulfurous odor. And yeah, so essentially where it picks up... Andrew, do you have the rest of this? I don't know.
So I mean, yeah. So they see this falling object. They're obviously curious. They go to get Freddie's mom. They get the dog. They get some flashlights. They head off into the woods. I don't have an exact. Zenger, do you have an exact distance, like from where the house was to like where the supposed crash site was at all?
Let me double check. I don't have an exact distance or anything. I
was just
believe it
curious.
was up a hill
Yeah.
from it, and
Yeah.
it was. They were on the playground at the school when they saw it.
Okay,
They went
right.
to their home. Once they got to their home, because it was on the way up that hill, they picked up, of course, the mother and apparently their 17-year-old cousin, too, was there.
That's
Who was
right,
a
yeah.
National
There was an
Guardsman.
older one.
Yes, Lemon. His last name is Lemon, and he went along as well. And there was two other boys accompanying them, I think,
Yeah.
that are named. So it's a nice little group of people heading up there, up this hill.
Totally. So obviously multiple witnesses, and the other thing that I feel like is like important is just the fact that it was like relatively close by. It's not like they had to hop into a car to head over, follow this falling object at a great distance away. This was really close to where they were. So it's not as if that takes away some of the likelihood of them, misinterpreting the falling object and so many other parts of how this story ends up playing out. But we'll continue on here. So basically, they're going up this hill. They're heading into the woods, and like Amber said, they're greeted by a blanket of smoke, of mist, smoke, mist, steam,
Gross, smelly
gross stuff.
smoke.
However you want to describe it, it was something that obviously affected them because they could smell it. Mm-hmm. But it didn't impact them like drastically right away. It wasn't until
it did kind of, because they said that their nostrils were burning.
Right, like it was bothering them,
yeah.
but it didn't like incapacitate them. But I had one account where, I'm sorry, what was the name of the older boy again? I can't.
It was, his last name is Lemon.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
trying to get his first.
For
name.
some reason, I feel like it was Eugene.
Yes,
I
I actually scrolled right up to it. Sorry.
Okay.
The thing I'm reading over is referring to him as just Lemon later.
Right, okay.
So I was trying to scroll up, but yes, you got it. It's Eugene Lemon.
So there was an account where he actually was frightened by what started to approach them. So they see a large object that they couldn't quite make out start to approach them, and this startled him. He dropped the flashlight. When he kneeled down to get it, he put his head right into this smoke that was, trickling over the ground towards them, and that's when he got a big breath of it, and that was that affected him a lot. He got up, he was coughing, and they fled shortly after this because what approached them was
this very strange being that was described as having glowing eyes. Well, it was almost like a glowing head, like an ace of spades was the shape.
Yes.
And the eyes were initially what they described, but the creature was reptilian-like with scaly skin, approximately 9 to 12 feet tall, with a glowing head, like I mentioned, long, thin arms with 2 long, clawed fingers, and apparently it was emitting a piercing noise, which we'll get back to that later.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting as far as like theories as to what this actually was.
Yeah, totally. When I listened to the Graveyard Tales episode when they were doing the Flatwoods Monster, there was that noise that you just referenced, and then when it was moving across the ground, there was in some accounts they mentioned that it was described like a crackling bacon, the sound of like crackling bacon as this thing sort of slowly would move towards them. But there was also some, I know, right? That just totally takes the edge off the story. I feel like if you heard that sound, I feel like for a lot of people that would just calm you in that instance. You're like, this guy's not so bad. It's gonna be fine. I guess the smell's not there though. That's yeah.
I guess the other thing we should mention at this point is the fact that some of the group said that the bottom of this monster creature thing was actually obscured by grasses and like foliage, that type of thing.
Right.
And then others kind of got a glimpse of something that they described as like almost, I don't want to call it really like a skirt, but it kind of was, because it was round, it was circular, and it was basically like a bunch of tubes. And
tubes.
These tubes.
This is the way you pronounce.
Sorry, I guess I'm saying that.
God.
Sound very Canadian there.
Yeah, that's a Canadian accent.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Sorry, but yeah, no, and there was smoke emitted from these tubes apparently.
Right.
So yeah, that was
the thing. It was like some of the. I mean, we'll get into this at the end. Like, yeah, ideas on what could have been, but some people speculated that the smoke or what incapacitated them may have could have come from the actual a ship and not the creature, or an asteroid, space gas.
Space gas.
Or something crazy like that. I don't buy into that. What do you think, Justin?
One of the other accounts I know that I was going on, because I watched several things, read several things on this, and kind of have my own backlog of hearing about this before, is that the creature was sort of described as possibly being something even mechanical, that looked like it was in some like armored suit, and the only thing they could see was the eyes. Because 2 of the boys said that they did not see the arms, they just saw like this metal cylinder moving forward with the eyes on top.
Right. Okay, I think
there's also a craft mentioned off to the side that was glowing, but once again, some of the witnesses mention it, some of them just say that the creature was the main thing they saw.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think, Amber, sorry, there was the second sighting where there was more of the reptilian.
Well,
where it wasn't
exactly.
in full.
Exactly.
Which is it's apparently a highly contested sighting, too, by the way.
Yeah. Well, the original, even the sighting of the object falling from the sky, there were multiple people that had seen in the area something falling, but
across 3 states. And it definitely was reminiscent of a meteor.
Exactly.
Is what the descriptions were.
Exactly. So like some people said it was a single object, some people saw multiple objects falling, different sizes. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing.
Just going back to the whole like the discrepancies in the description, I kind of like I kind of differentiated. There was almost like this idea of like the full suit versus the half suit
Right.
on the creature,
Yes.
which would add more mechanical-esque features, perhaps. Whatever the heck. This is just so bizarre to me. I'm trying to picture a crocodile in some sort of space craft, like missile thing. I don't even know.
I know, right? Like, why have the suit? I mean, go for it.
Any
Justin.
theories?
No, I was just gonna say it is a weird description. Like I said, there's a lot of similarities between all the accounts. The spade-shaped head, the fact that there was like it was wearing something in the bottom. It had sort of a skirt almost looking thing to it, whether it was like a rocket pod that it was hovering on top of, or whether you just couldn't see the legs.
Right.
But there is one other discrepancy that I find odd, and I'm sorry to bring this up because I know with cryptids, the puppers sometimes do not do too well. The dog in this situation, I've read several accounts, and that dog changes hands from either being their dog, Lemon's dog, or just the town dog. And that dog apparently ran off barking, vomited on somebody's porch, and then was found dead later.
Oh, no.
I said, I'm sorry, I know that puppers don't do the best sometimes in these cryptid stories, but it's just weird how it changed hands of who owned it, and in most accounts it was just sort of a dog that was with them.
Interesting.
I kind of sit here and shrug now, going, I'm not questioning anything with the story yet. I'm just saying that they not. I don't know. It's just a weird thing in this creature, very weird, and definitely. I mean, if it did affect the dog, I mean that's kind of proof that something was out there out of the ordinary.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And well, there were the actual the group that was there that first night ended up all
They got nauseated.
getting sick that night, and then
one
later
barfed.
having ailments later in life as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cancer and that type of thing.
Some of them, did eventually pass away from cancer. I don't remember exactly what types of cancer.
A lot of it was like lung and throat, and
Lovely.
it was a variety though. It wasn't just
Right.
Yeah.
So it's tough to, that far down the line, like draw a connection potentially, but it is still curious, the fact that, I mean, unless you're all working in the same coal mine, you all experience the same event, and for that to happen to the dog and also to, multiple people at the same is very, very curious. But there were other things that corroborated the event too. There was a neighbor nearby who stated that she felt her house shake from some sort of an impact. Now, that at the same time doesn't make a whole lot of sense because there was never an impact site found. There was just flattened grass, right? From a
Not even like there was there was a small site where there was like these things that were described as skid marks, along with an odd gummy deposit.
Okay.
Like almost like a rubbery type of substance found in a field. This guy from the Skeptical Inquirer, he actually attributes that to the guy who was originally searching for the landing site, driving through fields and then kind of circling back on himself, and then he discovers convenently these
Right.
tracks. But that's the Skeptical Inquirer. I don't know if that's
Something
the
to
way
really
that
lean
we
on.
want to spin this, but
Right.
very...
What do you think, Justin?
Okay, so I have heard that there's several conflicting things, of course, it was somebody driving around and they came across their own tracks, and the stuff on, like, the oily substance or stuff was just their oil pan was leaking. But I would say if your oil pan's leaking that badly, you've got bigger problems with your vehicle then. So that kind of rung me as an odd thing when I was, of course, going over the different accounts from this story and everything. There is something interesting. I don't know if you guys are going to touch on it yet, but there is an interesting thing that happened later on that evening that is kind of overlooked in some of the tellings. So I'm going off of one of the accounts I have. So I'll get to that once we get there, or unless we're there now.
Well, let's just go there now.
Let's jump there now.
We're there.
I like
All
that.
right. According to the book I have, where I got one of the main accounts of this from, is that around about 1:30 a.m., about 30 troops showed up and began to kind of comb the area and search the area. Military troops. And they were almost all gone by daylight, but a few of them were still left kind of combing the area.
Interesting.
And they
What?
claimed they found nothing.
But we're clearly looking for something.
Yes, but did someone call them? I mean, that's pretty quick. At
Yeah.
1:30 8:30 a.m. for them to show up in Braxton County is in the direct center of West Virginia. I don't know how close, the deployment is for these people.
You're right.
But for news to have traveled that fast from about 8 o'clock in the evening till 1 in the morning to get people out there that fast, that's kind of weird. So is it something they already knew was coming down, or is it something they were aware of that would have that happened?
It almost seems like if the response was that quick in the 1950s, that they were expecting something to be there.
Yeah.
That's what it makes.
Or they picked it up independently on their radar systems or something like that.
I guess so.
I wonder.
But
that's very intriguing.
That is
I never
very
came across
interesting.
that.
Yeah, we did.
But like I said, that is omitted out of a lot of tellings of this. But in the book I read, and I also watched the Small Town Monsters documentary they did of the Flatwoods Monster. They did a fantastic job with it. And also, I talked to Derek Hayes of Monsters Among Us to kind of get his opinion on it, too.
Awesome.
And he also, so that's 3 accounts where they all mentioned, by the way, did you know about this? So I'm taking that as something to include in this discussion, then.
Well, thank you very much for bringing that to the table, because that's a significant piece of information.
It really is.
Maybe something I'll bring up later.
Yeah, because the only military type involvement that I came across was in the form of 2 plainclothesmen that were actually disguised as magazine writers that went into the scene later on. This wasn't like the day of or day after or anything like that, but it was shortly after this was reported. And they were basically just trying to, just nose around a little bit inconspicuously. I'm not sure. They probably came across as a couple of men in black or something. But
right, yeah. Totally.
I wonder. But they basically came to the conclusion that it was a meteor. Which sounds convenient, maybe.
Hey, Men in Black, that was a Mothman reference, I guess.
It was. It's West Virginia.
There you go. Yeah, the whole meteor thing, I mean, there's going to be a hole in the ground, right? I mean, I'm no Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I'm fairly certain there's going to be something in the ground, or something. You're going to be able to find something, know? Yeah.
Unless it broke up in the sky. Because that's what people were saying. Like, if it was a meteor, it might have been, exactly. It was an explosion in the air, and then the fireball just kind of deposited on the ground, and it wasn't actually, like, a crater or anything.
And then they just saw something else in the woods, like...
right? That doesn't add
like,
up.
there's these things that don't connect. But, sorry, what were you going to say there,
I wanted to point out something in reference to Mothman. Mothman took place during 1966 to 1967, so this predates it by...
14 years or whatever, yeah.
Oh, wait.
Crazy.
19, yeah, you're right. Never mind. Bad math on my part. Ignore that. No, I just, you said Mothman. I'm like, I know that they're close, but I don't know which one predates the other one. So I wanted to double check that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that is interesting. And some of the people that, we're going to get into, like Joe Nickel, and there's, some other skeptics out there that have basically just used the fact that this incident happened in the 1950s to discount it just because it was the 1950s. And
yes,
I get that. I get the sci-fi movies coming into
space age paranoia.
I get that. Cold War stuff. I get that. Yeah. But there's still things that don't add up. And I'm not a mass hysteria person. I don't buy into that for a lot of these different things. So yeah, I'm not leaning that way personally. But I think we have this section here, Amber, where you added it in where there was the deputy investigating the incident. Did we talk about that already?
No, we actually didn't. So this would have come before the military men were combing the hillside in the later hours of the evening.
Right.
But there was, like the local sheriff and deputy came out, and they were simply investigating a report of a plane crash from a neighbor that was about, I think, like 10 miles down the way.
Huh.
And so they ended up searching the site, but they reportedly saw, heard, or smelled nothing. So I don't know. It's just kind of like your typical little, like, the small town cop coming in and nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, they're not buying it. They're just there and there. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right. The next sighting was still in the 50s, was it not?
The next sighting would have been on the following day. September 13th.
Right. Why don't you go ahead and take that one, Justin?
Yeah.
Oh, the one I enjoy. Got it. This one happened near Frametown, and it actually was a couple that was returning from a trip to Cincinnati, Ohio, and they had time on their hands. They decided to take back roads and stuff.
Right.
Well, their car mysteriously stalled out in the middle of the road, which, if you're familiar with UFOs and alien encounters,
It's very common, right?
a common thing, but not common to somebody just driving on the road. Of course, husband gets out, goes to take a look at it. All of a sudden, there's apparently a bright flash, and they see a reptile upper half creature coming over. Once again, sort of floating in some metal skirt thing. And he immediately gets in the car, covers up his wife and child, and it kind of just goes on that it sort of went away.
Okay.
This one is one that's been debated, though. And it's kind of, I can't remember who it is, but there is a certain researcher that really champions this, and not a lot of other people kind of say that it's a separate thing, or if it is, it just doesn't fit with the description of the earlier creature too well.
Okay.
Okay.
That's just my doing my due diligence and researching and double checking stuff. It's still in the book I got a lot of my information from,
Right.
but it's kind of just vaguely brought up in, like I said, the other stuff I did my research in.
Okay. Because that's actually, that's ringing a bell for
And
me now.
if you watch the Monster Quest episode,
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
that there
Yeah.
there is the
They focus on that one.
They
Yeah.
do.
Yes, the,
it was
Monster
George and
Quest-
Edith Satosky was their names.
Satosky,
Correct.
yes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yes, and that is, and like I said, that's where they heavily focus on the lizard portion of it, as opposed to the extraterrestrial or machine portion of it. So that's, like I said, some
Totally.
people say that that's a sighting, but it's not connected, even though they happened very close to each other.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah. Next
And
day.
the next day, yeah.
Right?
Next
and that's
day.
interesting because that goes back to the whole, like, the full suit versus the half suit description.
Yes.
And again, like, I actually, in the Monster Quest, they do go into a bit of detail about that and say that this is the detail I got. Apparently, once they were back in the car, the creature touched the car with two of its fingers and actually burnt through the paint.
Yeah.
Like, through the enamel.
Burn through
or
the paint and primer all the way
The
to
primer,
the, to, the,
right,
to
yeah.
the metal. Yeah.
Apparently. But I would love to see photos of that.
Yeah. You're not going to find them,
No.
unfortunately.
Yeah, very curious.
Because, that just brings up so many questions to me, though, about if you do believe that those two, it happened the next day, if you believe that they're connected, that it was the same creature, and that there is a suit and that it was only wearing part of it the second time, what the hell's the point of the suit? Right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're out in space, you got to keep that helmet on. So if that thing's not from here or something or whatever, and it's wearing a suit for whatever reason, it's not like you're just be like, oh, I'm just going to wear a tank top today instead of the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously for a specific purpose, presumably. Yeah. So I don't know, like that, yeah, I don't know.
Also, just for frame of reference, I don't know how much this weighs in on anyone's opinion. It's about 20 miles from Flatwoods to Frametown, which is where both sightings took place.
Okay.
As you drive, as the crow flies, I can't get that because Google Maps is not allowing me to.
Okay.
So, poop on that.
Okay. Yeah, Google Maps, man, always lets me down.
A lot of the time.
Takes me the wrong way.
I just wanted to check, because I was like, I've never looked to see how close these two are together, so let me find out real quick. And
so that's
yeah,
fairly
they're close. But for this creature to move undetected in a day, in basically 24-hour time period, while military and everything else is searching for it,
Right.
that's a doings there.
No kidding. And in, like, obviously dense forest, because it's not as if it's just going to be, like, on the curb of the road, like, avoiding the trees.
Yes.
Like, 20 minutes.
Hitchhiking with a little sign, Frametown or bust.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Sticking out the one finger trying to get a ride, yeah. Well, yeah.
That's okay. So, do you have any other sightings from the 1950s that you come across there, Justin?
Let me continue to flip through this book real quick and see if it brings up any
He's got a
more.
book.
Sounds
This is
good.
legit.
This is legit.
We've just got freaking.
It kind of brings up the aftermath and stuff like that, kind of more going along with, of course, the people showing up to interview them. It doesn't really go over any more sightings per se.
Okay,
Right.
so more of the aftermath. I had one other sighting from the Monster Quest, and again, it's almost kind of loose, and it was like decades and decades later. This is 2004. It was a
Holy
hunter,
moly, that's a long
Hunter
time.
Joe Smith, he was in the woods of West
Joe
Virginia.
Smith. That sounds like a made up name.
It kind of does. Yeah, now that I'm going back, I'm going to call him Joseph, just to make him learn this shit.
Joseph.
Joseph Smith here. Okay, he was hunting some deers, and apparently he saw what appeared to be 3 humanoid creatures with heads like the Ace of Spades. So again, this is very
Oh yeah, that's right. I
Flatwoodsy.
remember that.
And the eyes were like openings with eyes in behind him, is what he described. And that he wasn't, I didn't really get much other detail from him, but he was convinced that these creatures were the Flatwoods Monster. So
Very
that,
strange.
to me, it's like, what the heck? Before this, it was only 1 creature. Now it's 3, potentially.
Did he give a height or a size?
No.
But they were at a distance.
He could have, and I just didn't write it down. But
I remember, it was at a distance, though, so they had to have been a decent size,
yeah,
right?
the humanoid, so at least 6 foot, probably about,
Yeah.
bigger than that, I would say.
Interesting.
But very interesting, yeah.
And
I
you know what?
honestly-
I just want to say, too, like, apologies to Joe Smith if you're a real person, because just because your last name's Smith doesn't mean it's a made-up name.
There's lots of Smiths in
I
this
worked
world.
with, yeah.
You know, it's funny, my last name, Bouchard, is like the Smith of Quebec.
It's very true.
It's just
Very
a
true.
reference there.
Indeed.
Yeah, my name's Zinger, so freaking common. Everyone else has it around here. No, they don't.
Okay, what nationality, what ethnicity is that?
German, right?
Is it?
It is German.
Oh, there you
correct.
go.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking
Very
about.
cool.
Yes. I did figure out how to do As the Crow Flies from Flatwoods to Frametown, and it is 13 miles.
Jeez, okay.
So,
But this is
So-
over hilly, mountainy, up and down terrain.
you'd have to hop back in the
I cannot
spaceship.
express how, like, mountainy this area is. If I remember correctly, BFRO does Bigfoot hunts out in West Virginia every now and then.
No way.
Yeah.
That's funny. There's
It's
actually
not one of the highest, like, levels of sightings, but, I mean, it's a forested area, so, I mean, very remote, too, for most of West Virginia.
So, where are we at here, then? Are we at Joe Nickel, this guy? Or we want to keep talking about some other
I think
ideas?
we should just get into theories and ideas, and
Okay.
Joe Nickel is a huge part of that.
Sure.
One thing we did not mention, though, was
sorry.
that one...
Sorry, keep going. Finish your thought.
It was the one skull that was found by that girl. And honestly, the way that this was kind of thrust into that Monster Quest video, I feel like that could be relevant, could not be. It almost seemed more
the
Mothman-esque
Star
to
Child
me.
thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
That is left field. The only way that's connected to this, if you want my opinion, is just the fact that they tried to push the whole "it's a reptile"
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it didn't even seem very reptilian once they did the model, and
It was, yeah.
it was a stretch. And honestly, the connection for me was it's a humanoid creature, so therefore they're establishing the precedent that there could be humanoid-esque things that we don't know about in this world, in this area, potentially.
Yeah, it's a
But
massive
very loose.
reach.
Very, very loose. But very creepy. Even if it was how that one, what was that doctor? Oh, Susan Meister. She examined the skull, and she actually determined, in her professional opinion, it was a child's skull that had been severely modified.
Right.
So that's kind of brutal when you think about it. It's that would be
Well, it wasn't
binding the skull.
It wasn't a typical,
no.
modification, though. It was just like a...
It was so severe that she had never seen that degree of
Right.
modification before.
Which is interesting.
And maybe potentially is the fact that, it leads to the fact that the child was obviously dead at a young age.
Right.
So maybe it couldn't actually sustain that type of modification.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that is a total side note, and I feel like that wasn't really too relevant in the Monster Quest, but they threw it in there just because.
It was a shoehorn thing they threw in there to have an
Right.
excuse to talk about the Star Child skull.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I do have that Major Donald Kehoe investigated this. Ivan T. Sanderson and Greg Baker as well.
Right.
All investigated this.
Okay.
I actually listened to the Ivan T. Sanderson kind of discussing it.
Yeah.
They also used that audio a lot in the course of the Small Town Monsters episode of him kind of investigating it. He came to the conclusion that it was real. That he said there was no doubt in his mind. Sanderson came to the conclusion that it was real and was not something from this world.
Yeah.
Kehoe kind of said it was the weirdest of all the flying saucer stories and had dangerous implications if true. So,
Yeah.
just wanted to throw that out there of the experts that went and investigated its kind of opinions.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Sanderson, he was right on the scene,
Yep.
in the 50s after it happened. I mean, that was in the early days of his work too. I mean, he's done a lot of Bigfoot research stuff, and He did work up in like the Great Lakes, like for the Great Lakes Triangle. He had like a vortex theory, his vile vortex theory, and all kinds of crazy paranormal stuff. Ivan T. Sanderson, the thing with him, a lot of people kind of poked holes in his suggestions that the object that fell from the sky was a definitively solid, UFO object, and that it couldn't have been an asteroid or a meteor breaking up or anything else, any other type of phenomena. He just went straight to that right away. And I get that. I get people poking holes in his story because of that. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Oh, gosh. Well, Justin, what do you got?
I want to kind of believe him because, I do like a lot of the stuff he did. This is, of course, prime time for, a lot of... The 50s were a prime time for UFO sightings and everyone having some, mythical story of stuff like that. But I can tell you this from visiting there and from, looking up stuff on it. Flatwoods is not somewhere that exploded from this. It got kind of a lot of attention as being one of the weirder UFO sites, but it's something to where, they have some attractions and stuff there for it, but this town still, I think, has probably around 500 people in it.
Yeah.
Maybe. And that's me going generously. I think it's closer to maybe around 300.
So it's not as if it became like a big boom because of this type of thing.
Mecca out of it and everything. Like, I don't feel that a lot of the people really went after, litigiously went after money and everything for it. They all seem to freely talk about it for the most part, if they're willing to talk about it. Few of them apparently were not very willing to come forward after they talked initially. They were kind of like, you know what, I'm done with this. It's going to drag my name through the dirt if I continue to speak about it. And I don't want that, or I just don't want the ridicule, so.
Right. It's very similar to the Mothman.
Very similar
very similar.
A lot, like even Charlie Red Star is what I'm thinking of.
And that's one of, and from like a sociological perspective, that's one of the things that like gives, credence to the story. These people aren't making money. Why would you be... at some point they just kind of lay down. They're like, you know what? I'm not going to talk about it anymore because this isn't benefiting my life.
Yeah.
Why would you make any of that up? We come back to this in a lot of these sort of stories.
Yeah.
With cryptid creatures and all kinds of stuff, right?
It is a very common thread through a lot of stuff. It's like, why would you make this up if you're not going to really...
If your life's destroyed or whatever. Yeah. It makes me think of Skinwalker Ranch, too. Same sort of idea. It's like...
Their lives are ruined.
Their lives were ruined from... the events that happened and them just talking about it and just trying to be like, can someone please help us? Like, what the heck's happening over here?
Yeah. Yeah, this Joe Nickel, he definitely ripped into Ivan Sanderson a lot and kind of didn't really take what he had to say as anything to...
Joe Nickel, though, this guy is like as skeptical can get, to the point where his ideas on rational explanations are more irrational than there being extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Okay, so maybe we should get into what his whole idea of what this is.
Go for it.
And so he is of the mind, like he's very skeptical again. He is part of the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, so that kind of sets the framework there. But he is of the mind that the UFO that was spotted by these the group with Freddie and all that was a meteor. And the pulsing red light that was described, which we didn't really get into too much, but I guess there was a pulsing red light, and it was just your everyday aircraft navigation / hazard beacons.
Okay.
And that the creature itself was none other than an owl.
Which is just the classic trope of UFOlogy, right? You've seen an alien, and it's the face of an owl.
With the Jersey Devil too, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And he does have a really convincing an image that, like an illustration of...
Which we'll put on the website.
Exactly. Half of it is what is described as the Flatwoods, and then the other half is an owl sitting on a branch, and they like perfectly kind of like match up. And
he has it like split in half, and and the way like, and it does make sense too. Like if it was sort of, it kind of makes sense. Like if it was perched on a branch at a certain height, then it would appear to be 9 feet tall.
Exactly. But and the glowing eyes and the movement. He said the gliding movement and the sounds were all consistent with, I can't remember what it was, not a barn owl, but some type of owl that does reside in that area.
Okay, but here's the thing though. Let me clear my throat here. Because, okay, if it's an owl perched on a branch, it can't hover towards you, right? It's either flying towards you and then you're going to know it's an
You're
owl,
gonna flap.
or,
He's flapping his wings.
it's not moving and then it's not hovering towards you. Where does the smoke come from? Is this just mist that you're misinterpreting?
He said it was a very dense fog that was rolling in that night.
Okay, so that's...
He's got an answer for everything.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what I'm saying. So all these exact things have to happen. There has to be a meteor that looks like a UFO. You have to be in the exact location where there's an owl perched on a tree that makes it 9 to 12 feet tall, that seems like it's hovering towards you, and it happens to smell really bad, apparently.
Smells really bad. And apparently it has a green color.
It kills a dog.
And it kills a dog.
And it kills a dog, yeah.
This is some sort of owl.
Not by attacking it, just apparently sighting it.
It's owl farts, man.
Owl, yes, apparently. Like
Stentious owl farts.
So, like... Yeah, I mean, obviously owls are, like, the most dangerous animals on planet Earth, if you believe this if you
They're
believe
pretty gnarly, man.
Joe Nickel. Like, I don't know, Justin, what do you make of that?
I knew about the owl theory. I was like, I'm not going to be the one to bring it up because I don't want to be the wet blanket. Not saying you guys are. I'm just saying I kind of already felt like my other statements were going to be criticizing it. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be mean or say that I don't believe it. It's just, I'm just stating facts right now.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
And that was the thing, was this one was one of those things where I'm like, I know about the owls. I know that some owls do have a tendency to put their feathers up behind them like that and into a spade shape and try to, scare off by hissing, which is something that was accounted for. But I'm saying it's really weird that you had that many people. One, I mean, yes, I know that all of their descriptions are different, but none of them went, hey, that's an owl.
Yeah.
Like, not a single person stopped and went, that's an owl.
And these are people that would see owls.
Yeah. That might have been on edge. I mean, I live vaguely close to this area in the sense of it is a 3-hour drive from where I'm at right now directly through West Virginia mountains. I've seen an owl here and there. I've never encountered one, wandering through the woods to where it like hissed at me or something. I've just kind of seen them off in the distance. So maybe if I did, I would be like, oh my gosh, man, I saw the spade-shaped alien out in the woods and it scared the living hell out of me. And don't go out there. But like I said, I don't know, and I can't be the judge of that because I wasn't there that night. Trust me, I wish I was. It would have been cool to experience this. Maybe not all of the inhaling the smoke, but that's the other thing, is they had so many repercussions. Like, one of the boys had to be looked at by, like, a doctor for, like, their throat and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen?
It's not sweetgrass, because that was Joe Nichols. He said that there is grasses that grow in this region that do smell weird, but not to that same degree that he had, like, so again, it's just like...
Once again, they grew up here. They live there now. They've lived there their whole life. Is this all of a sudden something you just, all of a sudden just one day, it's like, oh, hey, this is here.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be familiar with that.
And,
totally.
And the other part of it, too, was like, this Nickel guy, again, like, he was like, oh, these boys, they were quite young, and they probably never saw an owl in their life up close before. Owls are nocturnal, ... You're just like, okay, there. Just totally discredit everyone that lives in that area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and especially the fact that Miss May was with them, too. So, she's more seasoned. Like,
right.
Like, that's pretty insulting. And the fact, we didn't mention this, but she actually had an oil, like, stain on her apron when they left the woods.
Supposedly, yes.
Supposedly.
Yeah. And that wasn't just like oil from a car. It was a substance that was unidentified.
And you know when I came across the part where some described her as a beautician, which she could have been both. She could have been Freddie's mom and the other guy's mom and a beautician. And I was almost thinking, like, oh, crap. Like, what if she was like dyeing someone's hair that day and she didn't realize
that's what it was.
But that's dumb. That's just me being like, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, just to say, not to hate on Joe Nickel too much, like, I mean, I'm not buying into his explanations for this one, but he does do some really good work with other stuff. I've read his Lake Monster Mysteries book, and he does a really good job of that, where he has some stuff that's like more believable for explanations for things. But this one, I'm not really buying it. The other aspect of it too is that owls don't emit electric shocks.
Yeah. And that was described by like First Nations communities in the 1500s when settlers were first kind of converging on the area. And they had these, these stories to tell about exactly what you described, right?
Creatures that could emit electricity, which immediately made me think of the Mongolian death worm, which is a, supposedly it may or may not exist, but it's a not aquatic animal that emits electric shock, which is obviously unheard of because it's only eels and things. But I don't know. So where are we at here?
So I think we're wrapping up the idea that it was an owl. I feel like I need to suggest...
What wasn't? Did you say was or wasn't?
Wasn't.
Yeah.
Was not.
Was not.
Okay.
N-O-T.
Just want to make sure that was clear.
Yes, was not an owl.
Thank you.
There was another thing I came across that suggested that the sightings were the result of mass hysteria caused by the release of coal mine gases.
Boo. Boo. I don't like that, no.
Yeah, no,
I think that also came up a few years later in Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Exactly.
Did it? Oh, okay.
And swamp gas.
That was a thing that was brought up for that, too. That it was mass hysteria.
Speaking of West Virginia and speaking of Mothman also, I think this is a good time for you to get into some of your stories.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait,
yeah, you?
me? Okay, so I guess tell my story about going to Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, not Point Pleasant. Well, I was there, and then I went to Flatwoods. So during the Mothman Festival, it's a weekend event. It was a lot of fun. Definitely, if you're in the West Virginia area and can make to Point Pleasant, it's definitely something to go to. Especially this year because we will be returning. And humble brag, it will be my birthday on the Saturday of that. So
nice.
I'd love to see and listeners, stuff like that, fans,
Sweet,
whatever.
Man.
If you've heard me on a podcast or if you listen to podcasts, there's probably going to be a few of podcasters wandering around there. I got to meet a few other podcasters. Derek Hayes was also there. David
awesome.
Gore from Blurry Photos. Me and him talked, and I actually got the little pamphlet that I'd sent you guys a picture of the Braxton County thing where it kind of tells the story and has the map. So on our way back, we had planned to stop by Flatwoods. It wasn't super out of our way of travel. It just was a more scenic route. And we went to Flatwoods, and we got there and everything. And now for the listeners at home, I'm going to do the Ultimate Sin of Podcast thing and describe something to the fellow people I am podcasting with, but yet you will have no clue what I am talking about. So if you look at your computer now, you should see a screen share of Flatwoods, West Virginia.
Yes.
All right. So we basically were driving up, and we got the coordinates to where apparently it took place. And that would be in this area here on this hilltop. Now, as you can see,
okay.
if I go to 3D mode there, it is an upper hill area. So we were driving up this road here and went rounded the turn, and apparently this is one of these two houses is the May house.
Really?
Yes.
Crazy. Did you knock on the door?
No, I didn't. I found this out later.
Okay.
But anyways, I was driving up, and I was like, I think we're going up the right way, and I'm like, I don't know. And luckily, there was somebody driving back down the other direction. So I basically roll down the window, kind of wave them down, and everything. And Ellie's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, ask this guy where the stuff is. He's probably from here. So hopefully he'll be able to point us in the right direction. So I was like, hey, man, we're just visiting the area. We're looking for, where the Flatwoods Monster stuff took place. And he goes, oh, you're on the right road. It's right up here, but you can't go on the property. And we're like, what? And he goes, the guy is not letting anyone on the property who owns it. It is off limits to the public and period, like no go at all.
Right.
And he goes, he's very upset. And he apparently said that History Channel was there recently, and they wouldn't even allow History Channel to go out there either.
Really?
So, yes. So we basically turned around, and that was about right here is where we got turned around. So we turned around, went back down. But if you travel deeper into the town, I mean, it's not that big, but
Flatwoods
deeper
Elementary.
there is. Yes. That's apparently near where they were playing. So if you can imagine, they were playing there. This thing went down there. They ran back around to go there, and then walked up to this area here is where it supposedly happened. There is a poster billboard thing right here called The Spot, and that is the restaurant there. They also have these cool and hopefully... Okay, there it is. These cool Mothman chairs and everything that you can sit in. And they also have this billboard where you can get your picture taken with you being attacked by the Mothman. But the interesting thing is it shows the spade shape. It also shows a crashed UFO.
Interesting.
There you go.
Yes.
Lean in the UFO way.
So there's some of the stuff from the spot. And everyone we ran into there was super nice and helpful about, telling us, oh, well, this is this, there's this stuff. And there are several of these chairs throughout the Braxton County area that if you go and take pictures at and turn them into certain locations, you'll actually get a free sticker according to the little pamphlet I got. And they call
awesome.
it, they have a hashtag FreeBraxy, which is one of the other of the umpteen million names they have for the Flatwoods Monster, the
Braxy.
Green Monster.
Interesting.
Yep. Braxy.
Interesting. Yeah,
And
I hadn't heard
apparently
that
there
one.
is also a museum that I was told about after the fact. So
Oh, that's too bad.
I know. I realized that after the fact, but it's not like I can't not ever go back there. So that was my adventure going to Flatwoods. It is a very mountainy area. It is something that, looking at that area and everything, I could tell this is something I 100%. It was cool to go there and everything, but it's kind of like it's this small little town where they're like, yeah, something happened here, and that's about all there is to it.
Right.
Like I say, you can travel around and go to different other sighting areas and stuff, but
Yeah.
aside from that, sorry, I was just checking to see if one of the other sighting areas was that Frametown, and it is not.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
But yeah.
I mean, I would really love to go to... I'd love to go to the Mothman Festival, and it would be really cool to bip over to the same spot that you were. Like, when is the Mothman
Yes.
Festival?
The Mothman Festival this year is September 14th through the 16th. It is the third weekend of the month of September every year.
All right.
I mean, it's probably not likely that we can make that happen, but I'm gonna go on a limb and say I'm gonna try and make that happen.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool if we could come down for that.
It is really cool to do that. Like I said, this is about 3 hours away. Flatwoods is, but it luckily was on our way home if we took a little bit of off the beaten path.
Right. Okay.
No, it is something that we actually have discussed going back to, like dropping back in, because Ellie was very excited. She wanted to go get pictures at all the different chairs they have with these. There's these giant, like supposed to be the same size as the creature, tall chair thing that you can sit in and get your picture taken in. And I'll send you guys one of the pictures so that you can
Please
show
do.
your listeners and
Yes,
everything.
please.
Very
I'll even
cool.
send the picture of us at the spot. And I'm sad because I should have gone in and got something to eat there, because apparently they have Flatwoods Monster themed items on the menu.
Of course. Of course.
Once again, this was, I found this out later because we were very tired that day. So it was one of those things to where a lot of this stuff I kind of was like, I should have done better research before we popped in here. But oh well, that's what next year's for.
Exactly right. There's always next time. So I mean, like, I guess we're kind of getting down to the end here, but like before we wrap it up, I sort of just want to like get everyone's concluding thoughts, I guess, on what they think it could be and what I don't even know, like what the future of Flatwoods moving forward is in terms of like if you think anything will ever be further discovered or will it ever be seen again. Why don't you go first there, Justin?
All right. This is something I heard recently. This is something Derek and me discussed when I was talking with him. And I just kind of got a huge eyebrow raised from it. And it sounds crazy, but I'm like, when you're doing with UFOs and cryptids and everything, you can only go so far. What if this was, because we established earlier, I dropped that hint earlier, that this was, the military jumped on this really quick. What if this was some military experiment? What if this was some item the military had that, put off this noxious vapor and accidentally like they were doing a test flight with it and accidentally crashed, and this little sentry thing could come out and float around and it could scare the enemy troops, or deploy these things that wouldn't kill somebody but would incapacitate them.
Okay.
What if that's what this was and the military came back to recover it?
Interesting.
Hey.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, that is a real big if, but at the same time, if you believe all this stuff happened to people, but yet there's kind of no evidence, who's to say they didn't come and clean it up?
Exactly. It's
And,
nothing but ifs at that point, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no,
So-
totally.
I mean, that's something he kind of mentioned as a, theory out there if you wanted to give it a real world, like, because like he said that the military showing up that quick is just kind of a head scratcher.
Especially in the
into it.
50s. You know, like,
It's, I mean, especially, like I said, I mean, there's a lot of these weird stories. I know that oh my gosh, it just blanked out of my mind. I was about to say the Kecksburg incident.
Yes, yeah.
They were on the ball on that one too.
Yeah.
Which Kecksburg is technically just up the mountain range from here. I mean, a couple 100 miles going up, but once again, another weird crash in the Appalachian Mountains.
Right.
So it's something just to think about if you want to really get outside the box. As for me, I think it's a great story.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most unique alien encounters you could ever have.
Definitely.
Or cryptid or extra, whatever it could be. Mechanical thing, whatever it is. And the thing is, the reason I kind of chalked this up to, I don't think it was an owl, is because why don't we have more reports of this creature-like thing popping up more often then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Just kind of my opinion on that. So, I mean, yeah, I just wanted to throw that government cover-up thing in there, because that's always a cliche you need to throw in. And once I heard it with this one, I'm like, that's too good not to talk about.
Yeah, that is too good to not put that one in there.
No, totally. And I'm almost of the mind now that perhaps that could have even been military personnel in a specialized suit designed to protect them from the fumes that were emitted from this device or whatever it was. And that maybe gave off this really strange... The other part that I could play devil's advocate for is, like, you know, there was a lot of hype up to this sighting, initial sighting from the boys and everything, because they did see this fireball descended to the hills and apparently crash. And then they were probably, you know, on the walk up, they're probably like, what the heck is this thing? Like, you know, like, what are we going to find when we, you know, like all this anticipation, all this stuff. And then like Nicole said, like maybe perhaps, they just had a skewed perception due to their emotional excitability. But I don't really want to play that card. I think, honestly, the military thing is a lot more interesting.
It's something that once I heard that too, I was sitting there and I'm like, I really like this idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do too. I mean,
I like it more too. Yeah,
it's one of those theories where it crosses over through to the UFO side, and then also just like the military side, because would it be potentially like you said, like military using reverse engineered technology of some kind, which is sort of like the ancient aliens idea of things, or is it just straight up, you know, testing of bizarre equipment or whatever? Because
they're already testing noxious fumes in the First World War, right? With all the poison gases and things like that.
Maybe they were trying to have some sort of RoboCop suit thing that they were testing out or whatever that they just never ended up using, and that's why it's gone down in history as just this bizarre thing they saw. But if it didn't and it went into full production, maybe we'd have people floating down in Flatwoods Monster suits.
Or maybe, you know what? Maybe the reptilian-like scales on the skin of that creature were actually a sort of like... malignant formation of something to do with like the gases that the person was exposed to, and that was actually a human being
like
inside
not
of a
having
suit,
a good time,
and they essentially died, because you get this huge gap right from the 50s all the way up to the 2000s. Like there's not much in between, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't know, we're wildly speculating here.
It's always the best way to do
I kind of I tend to lean just towards a pure extraterrestrial sighting. I kind of think that there was a landing and not a crash, and that accounts for there being no crash site, but there being flattened grass and other sort of remnants that aren't like directly like the same as other UFO incidents, but definitely similar in the sense that like there's substances. There was, you know, the not slimy. What did we describe it as? Like that oily substance left behind.
Oily,
you know. And then, like, we've talked about multiple times here, where it's just people who have lived in this area for years. They know what owls look like. They know what grasses smell good and bad. They know what... I don't care if they're kids playing in a field.
It wasn't a tree of paradise.
Yeah, exactly.
Rotten peanut butter trees you have up here.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I'm sort of thinking that, like, and then the sighting the very next day, if it was going to happen 13 miles away as the crow flies, if that thing's just hovering through the woods, that doesn't make sense. But if it's a pure extraterrestrial sighting, there's a craft involved... That makes sense to me. That it could be roughly in the same area, but not, you know, exact same spot, and obviously not hovering around through the woods. I don't know. It's crazy. I find it absolutely bizarre that the Monster Quest took the angle for their episode that it was a humanoid creature. Like, I don't know. Don't you guys think that's weird?
I wish I could remember the guy's name, and I really should have looked it up at this point. I know that one of the experts they have takes that hardline stance on that that's what this was. So that's probably what they continued to go with. It just makes for the investigation.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they did.
In the other stuff I've watched and listened to on this, they really don't discuss it that much.
No, the whole Star Child thing is just is not credible to me. It's just a weird skull, and the only connection, quite frankly, to any of the other sightings that I could really draw from that is the shallow eye sockets where the hunter described seeing sort of a the Ace of Spades shape, but with the eyes not really being like a human's eyes.
It was just like shields or something.
It was like holes and then eyes inside them, not like our eyeballs that are just there. Very strange. Very, very strange. I mean, this is my top 5 favorite stories, I think, in paranormal.
For cryptids and aliens.
In cryptids, aliens, paranormal. I can't even categorize it, but this has just been super, super fun. So thank you so much, Justin, for joining us. We really appreciate you coming on and talking about this with us. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
And I would be remiss if I did not mention a very important thing about this creature.
Oh, please do.
Did you guys ever play Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask?
Majora's Mask. Oh my gosh, I was just talking about that today. I was talking about the Ocarina of Time. I don't know if I've actually played Majora's Mask though.
I haven't for sure.
No.
If you played Majora's Mask, there is a mission where you have to. If I'm remembering, it's been a while since I played it, but I know exactly where it goes. There is a ranch where they have cows, and the cows keep on getting stolen at night. And when you do the mission, they're getting stolen by aliens. And guess what the aliens look like?
Ooh,
the Flatwoods Monster.
They got the Ace of Spades.
Yep.
Crazy.
That's sweet.
Yep.
That is an interesting pop culture crossover there.
And that's a great reason to go and play Majora's Mask.
Now I just want to... That's actually so funny you mentioned that, because we were talking about Zelda earlier today. Yeah. That's just making me want to go back and just buy vintage games so badly. Anyway, we're getting off track now. But, okay, so we're wrapping it up. Do you have anything else to say, Amber?
No, just that I've had such a great time discussing this, and I would really like Justin just reiterate where we can find Zeng This.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You can, of course, find us on hopefully almost any podcatcher at this point. That's, of course, spelled Zeng This, and we have new episodes every Monday. We sometimes do Thursday episodes as well, like sort of an extra episode. But like I said, it's nerdy topics every week. I know one of our most recent episodes, we did cryptids and comics, and we focused on Sasquatch. And it was actually a very Canada-heavy episode because I talked about Alpha Flight and their team member Sasquatch, which blew my mind because I was not ready for the level of in-depthness, apparently, that it went with how he was created and stuff like that in the realm of the comic. So that was a lot of fun to do research for that. And we also kind of throw in a few Bigfoot/Sasquatch sightings in our area, but Ellie also brought forth a story from a galaxy far, far away that may have been a little bit closer to home with an adventurer we know. For her bringing up a Sasquatch story from comics.
Okay. That's very cool. We're going to have you guys... You know what? It would be fun to bring you guys on for when we do a Sasquatch episode, and we could get some information from Sasquatch and Bigfoot sightings down there and do a comparison for the BC Sasquatch up here. I think that'd be really fun.
I would love to be on. Like I said, I love pop culture, and I love the paranormal, and I know that they can cross over. Like I said, I had that Zelda thing, and I was like, I'm going to make a reference to it because then I'm like, hey, pop culture.
Cool. Well, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much. Amber and I are totally going to try to make it down to the Mothman Festival in September.
Oh, you should. We plan on going every year now. It's not that bad of a commute for us. It is so much fun to go to. It's definitely a treat and everything. So if you are in West Virginia, if you are in the area, I would recommend checking out the Mothman Festival. And it's like I said, it was definitely a lot of fun to do that. And they have some... I remember seeing someone dressed up as a Flatwoods Monster there.
Oh, really?
I was thinking a picture of it. It was one of those things where there was so much going on that it was hard to be like, oh, get a picture of that. So that is one of them I sadly missed. But
oh no,
that's all right. You'll get it next time.
Next time.
I will.
All right, well, before we wrap up here, Amber, you want to just let the listeners know where they can reach our show?
Yes, but before I do, I would like to give a special shout out to all of our new iTunes reviews.
Yeah.
I did some digging in the foreign iTunes categories and I found some gems.
Definitely.
So, yes, I wanted to say special thanks to Troy Expective over in the UK for his unhesitatingly honest review. We are glad not to have disappointed so far.
Indeed.
And we strive to do even better in the future. As well, thank you to D. Garcia 13 for her lovely review. We are so happy to have saved you from boredom during your Airbnb stay. Oy, no TVs? That's kind of rough.
That one came from Mexico, yeah?
It did, yes.
That one was really, that melted my heart. That was really cool.
I know. I was like, this is why we do the podcast, really.
Definitely.
I remember being in a similar situation when I was away due to work purposes, and I was in a room stuck with two other ladies that were not my style, to say the least. And I just put in my iTunes, my Apple Podcast, and I was just listening to them all night long.
Yeah.
Didn't have a wink of sleep, but
hanging out
got me
with
through
friends,
it.
hanging out with podcast friends.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that was actually, I was listening to, oh my gosh, this total side note, but What You Missed in History. Those ladies are awesome. I love that show. Cool. Anyways, we're getting off track here. And I actually had one more I wanted to mention, and that was to O Gigante over in Portugal. And he said he discovered us while listening to alien theorists theorizing, and that's really cool because they're actually from Kelowna too.
Yes. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
And then we actually have a special announcement as well. So, Andrew, do you want to give the details?
Yeah, so it's been a kind of a long time coming, but special announcement, we, Amber and I have put together a little podcasting book. Mm-hmm. So it's called Get Off Your Ass and Start Your Podcast, and it's just a fun, quick read that kind of gives our perspective on getting things started, things that we missed and things that we wish we had, mentioned to us getting started, and so we decided to put it into like a fun, funny book format, and so that's now available on Amazon Kindle. So you can find that link on our website and on my Twitter as well. Mm-hmm. And so if you're into podcasting or you know somebody who is, tell them to check out that book. It's fun. It's a quick read, and it
gives you the necessary kick in the pants, I would say, just to sort of get the ball rolling. And if anyone that you know in your life should be podcasting, just buy it for them. It's only $2.99, really.
And we know there's a million podcasting books out there, but I deliberately, focused on things that other people didn't, because I read a lot of podcasting books and articles and blogs and stuff, and a lot of things got missed, and so we wanted to put that in our own words. So anyway, you guys can go check that out. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, you can always find us on the socials and come participate in conversation, chat weird stuff with us. So we've got a Facebook group. You can please come join that and chat with us. So it's just at Into the Portal Podcast on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at Into the Portal 1, and Amber's on there at AmberRay1992. And as well, we are always posting new things on Instagram. So it's at Into the Portal Podcast on Instagram. And come chat with us and check things out.
Mm-hmm. Join the Facebook group. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time.
Until next time, guys.
See ya.
This was a podcast from the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.